Yesterday I was putting this transfer case together and I realised I was getting into the land of confusion when I was trying to put into words the differences between different ATBs here. There's an ATB-A and an ATB-B. What's the difference? It's the spline here. The rest of it is exactly the same. This isn't an ATB, this is a standard diff, but it's the spline size here that's important. This is a narrow spline, this is a smaller diameter. It's around about 54 millimeters diameter. If it's bigger than 54, it's an ATB-B. Alright, so what does that matter? On Ashcroft's website they mention all the gearbox numbers, or transfer box numbers, all the transfer box numbers for an ATB-A, but they also put a set of numbers for an ATB-B. This can get confusing because if you're anything like me and you get a lot of these transfer boxes in, the numbers don't always correspond to actually what they are once you get them opened up. The casings are the same and all these bits are the same, it's just the gears, the ratios and the splines can be mixed up. And like I say, I've usually said to people who want gear changes and stuff like this, send me a transfer box down, I'll pull it to bits, find out what you need, there's the parts you need to order, job done. Why is it so confusing? Well, obviously we've got two different types of spline here. Alright, there's two different types. But there is also two different types of teeth on the location. Now this really applies to ATB-A's. So if you look at these two gears here, you can see this one's got a broad tooth and this one's a narrow tooth. This is the more modern one, but with a smaller diameter. The larger one here, you see how loose it is, it don't fit. But this only comes, as far as I'm aware, in the fine tooth variety. Alright? So, why do we need those? Why is it important? Well, this is your high range gear. This is just one I've had in a box. And this is the coarse tooth or the wide tooth, and they fit together like that. Alright? See that chattering? Never get away from that. They're always going to chatter a bit. But if you've got the fine tooth one, they're not going to go together. To muddy the waters a little bit more, if you want to change your gear ratio in your transfer box, say for example you want to put the really popular 1.3 ratio for a 300 TDI, is kind of a nice all-round gear ratio. The gear here, I haven't got one, this is an old gear, it's fine tooth. They're all fine tooth now. Anything that Ashcroft's actually makes themselves in their shop would be a fine tooth. That isn't to say that if you want to go to a standard pattern, you know, you want to put a 1.4 in instead of a 1.6, then there would be aftermarket ones with a broad tooth. I know, even I get confused. So if you're ordering the parts up from Ashcroft's, just make sure that you've got the right teeth for the hub. Because like I say in another video, that these are £275 each. They're not the cheapest things to get wrong. And we had a couple of gearboxes, transfer boxes sent a couple of years ago, and they sent me ATB-Bs, but the gearboxes were for ATB-As. So that got very expensive. That got nearly over $600 by the time they got here, or £600 by the time they got here, on top of what he'd already spent. It gets expensive, it really does. So I suggest to you, if you're going to do a transfer case, don't go off the numbers. The numbers are irrelevant because the damn things have been stripped down so many times and rebuilt, you just don't know. And there's many a time I've had a transfer box in here and the numbers have been obliterated or stamped over, so you don't really know what's in there until you get them in parts. So you know, like I suggest to people, if you want to do a rebuild or an overhaul of a transfer case, send me it first, then I can take it to bits and find out exactly what you want. And then you've got one shopping list and that's it, it's done. So just bear that in mind. It's not having to go to Ashcroft or anything like that. They do a nice job. But the problem is the confusion of which parts go with which differential here. Now, just to finish this off, I'm looking at my battery, see if it's going to last. If this centre diff has sort of exploded and all the bits have come out and the gears are all over the place and there's lots of wear on the housing on the inside, because that's like a spherical ball inside, they can't be rebuilt. Even the great JP can't rebuild them, so you're stuck. You either fit a second-hand one, again, check out which spline you've got, you could have anything, but the price of an aftermarket unit is about the same price as an ATB, and in my opinion it's a no-brainer. Get an ATB, end of story. You'll really enjoy it. Alright, see you later.